Welcome in, everybody, to a very special edition of Nighttime. This is a hurricane party. I'm your host, Patrick Previty. Alongside me is Matthew Bracker, as usual, and Justice Covert. Oh, my God, I called you Justin. Justice Covert joining us on screen today. Guys, also, happy birthday to Daniel Valdez, assistant producer. Sucks that, obviously, Danny. We're not in the studio, but all state, Danny.
How you guys doing? Staying dry?
Yeah, I'm staying dry. I heard it's going to rain today, though. So I'm trying to prepare.
Yeah.
No, yeah, man, I'm chilling. All right, well, we got some college football to talk about today. Obviously, UCF versus Colorado is the big game of the week coming up. What is something that you guys are looking forward to in that game?
Well, I personally am really looking forward to how this defense is going to step up. Right. I think that this is the game that they can do it in. This Colorado offensive line is not good. But the Colorado defense, too, if you think about it, they're allowing 149 rushing yards per game this season. So I would definitely bet the over on RJ Harvey rushing yards. But, as a unit, for the defense, we are holding teams to around 60 yards a game. And this Colorado offense can't get anything going on the ground. So if game plan goes right and everything goes right according to the paper, this is going to be a really fun game to watch the rushing attack.
Yeah, I agree. One of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is just how they're going to be able to stop RJ Harvey, like you said, but also I really am looking forward to seeing KJ Jefferson kind of sling it. We saw them open up the offense last week whenever they got down a little bit. They didn't give up on the run. They didn't abandon the run, which is huge. Which I would have honestly, if you had told me prior to that TCU game that we would have went down by that many points and then stayed with the running game, right? I would have been probably pretty shocked. I would have been like, oh, we probably would have had to air it out, would have lost our way a little bit. I'm very excited to see what KJ Jefferson can do against this Colorado defense. Obviously, Travis Hunter's down there on one side of the ball, guarding your probably best receiver. But I really would love to see just us just sling it around the yard, because I do think Colorado has the ability to score some points on this defense. So that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to.
Yeah, I think in regards to how Colorado lost its only game this season against Nebraska, Travis Hunter had 110 yards, 10 receptions. So Nebraska wasn't able to stop him, but they still won 28-10. The big thing was the sacks. They sacked Shedeur Sanders 6 times, which is a bit of a concern for UCF because we've only gotten 1 sack all season in 3 games.
Yeah.
So if we're going to win this game, we're going to have to get out, really crowd Shedeur Sanders in the pocket, which is possible because the Colorado offensive line is not good at all. So this could be a good tune-up game for a pass rush.
That thing melts like butter. I say if we don't, do well with sacks and creating pressure, we might be in for a long season with this D-line, which is really weird because they do well against the rush, I feel like, but they just can't get to the quarterback right now.
This is easily the best quarterback that UCF has played against so far this year.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
He could potentially get drafted for sure, and he could be a second-day kind of guy. I think that's what his projections are at actually right now, and that's fine. But he carved us up. So to think that we shouldn't be worried about Shedeur Sanders or anything like that, we got to get to him. That'll be the biggest thing all day long, because you can really take away a lot that a team has to offer if you can get good pass rush with 4 guys on that defensive line. And UCF just hasn't really shown that. We also haven't really been in a situation like that. I mean, it is kind of weird, right? Because we had a huge win over TCU, but those first 2 weeks almost feel like they don't even count with New Hampshire and Houston.
Yeah.
So definitely something that we're going to have to look forward to. Now, the line, guys, is 14 the last time I checked.
It's startling, quite honestly. I mean, ESPN has UCF winning their matchup predictor, according to ESPN analytics, 82.2% for UCF, 17.8% for Colorado. Now, I'm confident in UCF. Home game, big noon kickoff, a lot of eyes on this game. But 14-point spread? What are you talking about? That's insanity.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially with Colorado coming off against that win against Baylor. I mean, we see what they can do when they, their backs are against the wall and they have to be clutch. So it was kind of shocking to me. I love my Knights and all, but It was pretty shocking to me.
Yeah, honestly, my lean towards this game is definitely going to be that Colorado covers this. I think that they're a really talented team. They're the most talented team, in my opinion, that we've played all year. Like we've said, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a top 5 pick potentially in the NFL draft, best quarterback that we have played. And Travis Hunter is probably the best player that we have played so far this season. So I don't really see there being a reason at all why Colorado doesn't at least keep this close. I'm not really a huge fan of all the predictions saying that UCF is going to blow them out. Now, my final score prediction is probably going to be somewhere around like 34-24, because I do think that UCF can win this game by double digits, but that's still not enough to cover. So
yeah, I think at any rate, even if it's a low-scoring game or otherwise, I don't think UCF puts itself in a position to have a larger than 14-point lead. A 3-possession lead to win the game is just outrageous.
Yeah, now I guess that does it for the UCF Colorado preview. Okay, we're going to get into our swords and shields before we kind of recap everything that happened in week 4. Matthew, who is your sword?
My sword for this week is that guy, Nick Nash. He's having an incredible season with San Jose State, one of the best wide receivers in the nation. I feel like he's starting to get some Heisman chatter. Last week, he had 16 catches, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a double overtime loss against Washington State, which was such a fun game. I mean, you look at this guy, it feels like every single target that's coming his way, look at that catch. He's just going to come down with it for a touchdown. He's special to watch. He's going to be fun come Sundays.
Yeah, Nick Nash was my honorable mention last week. I really wanted to put him last week, but I just couldn't, just because I wanted to go with another quarterback, a story that I felt like was needed to be told. But Nick Nash has been actually going crazy. We did just look at his stats like earlier in the week when we were preparing for the show in the studio, and it was kind of ridiculous because he had thrown a touchdown pass also in the very first week of the season. So we were like, oh my God, like he's had 2+ touchdowns in every single week. So anytime touchdown for Nick Nash is going to be
a
move for any bettors out there. Now, my sword is going to be Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson was one of the players that I wanted to highlight for Iowa. He's the running back there for them, and he is going to be the only source of offense that they get pretty much all season long. And when we talk about Iowa's offense, I think it's just one of those things where, look, they're not going to have a ton of other players on their roster that are going to wow you, but he had 200+ yards rushing last week against Minnesota and 3 touchdowns. So that was going to be good enough for my sword. I don't know exactly how good Iowa's going to be this year, but I just know that Caleb Johnson's been putting the ball in the end zone and playing well on the ground and on the rushing attack.
Yeah, for an Iowa offense who, Iowa offenses historically have not been really, poignant, but this guy's getting it done for him. Like I said, or like you said, Iowa, I don't really know how far they're going to go this year, but at least they got something over there with the running back. But getting into shields, I got to give my shield of the week to Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. He had 2 sacks and a clutch forced fumble against USC, and he was one of the top-graded pass rushers in the nation. I thought he did a great job disrupting the USC game plan and getting in that backfield a lot that game. And that was a game that, defenses really had to step it up, and he stepped it up.
My shield is going to be, because we're taking it seriously this week. We decided to choose defensive players instead of a punter and offensive line.
Maybe the first time this season.
Yeah, I had Alzillian Hamilton from Fresno State. He picked off his first pass of the season, broke up his 6th and his 7th in his last game, and recorded at 1.5 tackles for loss. And that's in his previous game. He's been playing extremely well this year. He's only allowed 3 completions for 35 yards on the season.
Wow.
So that is pretty good stuff coming out of Fresno State. They're still potentially going to the Pac-12, I believe, right?
That's what we're hearing right now. But
yeah, that's what we're hearing.
I think we're going to get into some of that drama later.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Okay, so we also kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the bigger games last week. Now, not the game of the week, which was Tennessee, Oklahoma, but the other kind of sister game of the week was Michigan, USC. That was a pretty important game when we take a look at a top clash between two Big Ten teams, USC going on the road to the Big House. What was kind of the biggest takeaway from Michigan's win this week?
Well, the biggest takeaway is that they got the rushing attack going, right? Donovan Edwards was finally a factor, which I feel like I've been waiting to see for so long. He had a lot of hype coming into the season. Take cover athlete what you will, but he had a really big game there, and the whole rushing attack for that team was crazy. I think like 290 yards in the game or something like that. It was a good day for offense and defense too. Look at that fumble, big man.
Yeah, I'm lucky that this wasn't the game of the week for us, because otherwise I would have definitely gotten the wrong team or chose the wrong team, because I had a lean that it was going to be USC in this game. I really felt like I really felt like they were better with their win over LSU and Texas just kind of rolling over against Michigan just rolling over against Texas. I really just didn't think that Michigan was going to be able to put together a game, and they were home against Texas. So I didn't really think that the home field advantage was going to be that big of a factor. But in this game, it definitely was. And they felt really a lot more comfortable at the very beginning and the very end of the game. And when we took a look at some of the huge plays that happened, they were able to kind of bounce back. They gave up they just got the intercept or the fumble off of USC, but the guy got it stripped from the other player from USC. They were able to get it back. They gave up a touchdown, but they were still able to kind of weather the storm. There were a lot of moments in that game where USC built a ton of momentum, where it really felt like they were coming at you and you just couldn't do anything to stop it. And Michigan kind of stayed cool with that first-year head coach, and they didn't let the USC momentum or anything kill them. And I was really impressed with Michigan, but it was something that I definitely did not see coming.
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch. I thought it was a really good defensive performance from them, and I was kind of surprised too. Miller Moss over there has been really good so far this season. I wish it was game of the week, because I was going to say Michigan, because I believed, and then we could have been even on the season. Yeah,
I think Michigan winning this is really saving their season in a lot of ways. I mean, they go against Texas in their home stadium and they just get completely dog walked by them. If they lost against USC this time, I think they probably don't make the college football playoffs. They probably get bounced out with that. But with this, it kind of keeps their head above the water.
Barely, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's a good win. So I won't say barely, but no, I think it's really, really good that they were able to do that. Now, we also did have really huge games, Tennessee and Oklahoma, as well as Oklahoma State, Utah. Which one do you guys want to tackle first? Tennessee, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Tennessee, Oklahoma. That was the game of the week. Okay, so Tennessee, Oklahoma, that game probably wasn't as close as 25-15 may have led anybody to believe. Tennessee with Josh Heupel came into Oklahoma and took care of business. Now, I did get this right for the game of the week, but I did think that Oklahoma was going to cover. They sat their starting quarterback. They're looking like they're kind of in a bit of shambles, if you will. And Tennessee, they look like they were every bit as good as advertised. And for some reason, Heupel, or the reports are that he didn't open up the playbook. So I think that this, at the end of the day, really looks good on Tennessee. I would put them at least a mile or two ahead of a team like Missouri after this type of win. I don't know if Missouri could hang with either of those teams on the field.
Absolutely.
No, I agree. This was a huge game for Tennessee. There was a lot of hype coming into this game for them. So for them to, be able to come out and not really dominate Oklahoma, but put up a decent day at the office was really important. Dylan Sampson, I think I shouted him out a couple of weeks ago. He had a really good game over there, and it was a fun game to watch. Oklahoma benching their quarterback though was a little rough to see.
It's probably all for the best, honestly, for Oklahoma.
And I think Oklahoma's rushing game.
Go ahead, Justice.
Right. Oklahoma's rushing game is really, really poor. 34 carries, 36 yards. I don't think you're going to be able to win any SEC games like that.
Yeah, no, especially not in college. It's you just always have to get a run game going. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into some of the fun moments that we missed from week 4. Now, we have more of a kicker, a college kicker situation. This seems to be the kind of, I don't know, standard that is being set right now. This is a kick by Temple's kicker. It says 63 yards. It's 64 yards. Okay? He barely makes this off of the post.
There are NFL dudes who can't do that.
Yeah. This is the longest kick in the history of Lincoln Financial Field, and it is the longest kick of the season, and I believe the longest kick since 2003. I want to say 2003.
About.
Yeah, 2003, and it is the longest kick, or tied for the longest kick ever with that kick in 2003 since the era of the tee. So apparently you used to be able to, prior to 1989, kick a field goal off of a kicking tee, while another player is like holding it, like it would be like a kickoff that'd be super windy. So the more you know, but I will say that almost makes me think that he should just redshirt and wait and go to the NFL draft, because if he can prove that he can make that entire, or that kick from that far, from that distance, I don't really know what else he needs to prove to scouts.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Maddox Trujillo is that guy. You know, I was gonna make him my sword for this week, but in that game, I think those were like the only points he scored. So it felt weird giving a sword to a guy who only put up one field goal on the week, but impressive nonetheless. I can't do that.
No.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Oh wow! Thanks for the vote of confidence. Appreciate it.
All right, then we also got feet picks today on Nighttime.
Feet picks. Take a
look at this. Oh,
yeah. That bounces off of his foot, by the way. So Oregon State was able to get that in for a touchdown. It may have been a little too quick, so we'll have to take a look at the replay here. I've never seen anything like this, truthfully, since I've.
No, he just glitched out. Like, that is insane. For it to
something
bounce
like
off
this happened years ago with Blake Bortles and the Jaguars. He threw it off of the foot of Marquise Lee and it was intercepted. So this isn't too rare for me. I've seen something like this before.
You're getting some flashbacks, aren't you?
Yeah, that's some PTSD.
That feels real, because Matthew every week gets a chance to mention the Broncos, and after the Jags just got by the Bills, I mean, I feel like it's fair to mention. All right, guys, do you think this guy is scoring at the end of the night? I don't know. I don't think so, but he's putting in the work.
You know, he's doing the damn thing. And that's all that matters.
She's kind of giving him a little bit there. You got to give him, an A+ for creativity. But that's, I don't even think he's really, like, you see him chanting there. I think he's more, team-oriented guy for Nebraska right there. Like, let's go Nebraska.
She's stuck with him the whole game. He bought that ticket. He's staying there. He's probably been bugging her since the gates had opened for the student section. So she's got to be nice a little bit, She's like, I don't want to make this guy mad or anything.
Yeah,
but,
it's like
there's already something off with him because he's wearing the whole corn costume in the game. Right. Imagine how hot he is.
Imagine how much that costs.
Well, that wasn't a cost. It was body paint, and then the corn.
It's like the head.
Well, the head. Yeah,
the head. Where do you even buy something like that?
I have a guy.
Of course you do.
A corn guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. Yeah, corn guy.
The least surprising thing ever is Matthew having a corn guy, I would say.
I like corn. I eat my veggies.
Eats his veggies. Now, we have also, I need a little bit of an explanation for this play, guys. Okay, well, I'll let it play out, and I would love to hear what the reasoning was for this Virginia Tech quarterback's pass. Here we go. Dropping back, 14-7 Rutgers.
Is going to let this fly?
Yep. Into the back of the end zone. Is this worse than Dan Orlovsky? I don't know.
I was going to mention Dan Orlovsky. I think this is worse.
This is worse than Dan by Orlovsky. Far worse.
Because with Dan Orlovsky, you had Jared Allen running him down. This is just incompetence.
Yeah. It looks like, like a college football 25 glitch. I have no idea what's going on here.
Who are they hyping up? Yeah. Who are they giving credit for that? What did 23 do specifically?
The air, probably.
Yeah,
you know, look at the effect the air has on this ball. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you even tell your quarterback coach after that, or your head coach?
That you're redshirting, that you're retiring, you're done.
That might not be too bad of an option, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just take your spot on the bench.
It's over.
Yeah.
Take the spot on the bench.
Like the UNLV quarterback, you just redshirt for the rest of the year. I don't want to play anymore. I'm done.
All right. Well, should we get into some buy or sell, some game 5 preview?
Yeah, let's
week
do that.
5 previews. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we have our buy or sell topics now. Sorry to Ben Huber. We would have had him on today to talk about the buy or sells, but that'll be next week. But we will get right into it. Okay, Missouri's playoff chances. Are we buying or selling?
Hard selling.
I'm selling.
Yeah, I don't.
Not necessarily hard selling, but I'm selling. I don't believe it.
Okay, so I'm selling as well, but I would love to hear your guys' opinion first, because I'm not as strong on it as you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking. Would you like to go first? No, you go first.
I have them losing 2 games the rest of the way. They're definitely losing to Alabama, and they're maybe losing to Texas A&M, not this week, but the following week, or maybe Oklahoma. I think going to Kyle Field doesn't really seem like the best spot for Missouri, especially since they kind of had to take 2 overtime periods to beat Vanderbilt. So, they're kind of on the brink of missing out in the top 12 already, and I think a loss to Alabama and Texas A&M or Oklahoma is probably going to be the nail in the coffin for them.
Yeah, that Vanderbilt game was scary. And it's weird because we were talking about why did they drop in the rankings after the Boston College game, but now here we are talking about should they really even be towards the upper half. I definitely agree though. There's no way they're getting out of Alabama alive. And honestly, I could see them losing to Texas A&M and maybe Oklahoma if the day is right. Maybe UMass. Who knows? Maybe they pull up the upset. Probably not. But I just don't believe that it's their year.
Yeah, Justice and I talked about this before. The Missouri's on a bye this week, but then after that, they have to go to Kyle Field. And Justice believes, well, it is true. It has been scientifically proven that it is very difficult to play in that stadium. So now Missouri's going into Texas A&M, and they have to win a road SEC game like that. I know they're coming off a bye, so they get a little bit of a break after that Vandy scare, but I'm not really buying it. But I will say that some of the other teams that they would have to compete against or get over to make it into the college football playoff, I'm not exactly scared of them either. I would say the only team that I would think is like a bubble team right now is Clemson, that I don't think that Missouri could get over. But I do see them potentially getting over a team like Notre Dame with a weaker resume. Now, if Notre Dame, with their win over Texas A&M, if Missouri were to lose to Texas A&M or something, that probably almost eliminates them because they can't.
Right.
There's no way that they're running the table or getting one more loss for the rest of that schedule. But that would be a loss to a team that Notre Dame would have beat. But I don't think that they're going to beat or get in over a team like Notre Dame or any of the other like fringe teams, maybe from either the Big 10 or the Big 12. So I'm selling Missouri's chances, but I will say there is a path for sure. Now that brings us into 5 SEC teams for the college football playoffs. Buy or sell?
Right now I'm buying because as it sits right now, they're in. I have Georgia losing 2 games down the stretch. I think they lose to Alabama. I have Tennessee losing 2 games and Ole Miss losing 1 game. So the 5 teams that I have listed are Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. All make it. And the only losses they have are in those 5. So everyone's losing to each other. They're the best conference by a mile, and it seems like they're not slowing down. But I will say the teams with the 2 losses, you got undefeated teams that are really showing out, like Illinois, Iowa State, Louisville, that can make some noise and probably work their way up into the top 12. But as for right now, I'm buying that idea that there's going to be 5 SEC teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough. Because you got the 5 auto bids. Obviously one for SEC, so that would leave like 4 at large. I could definitely see it, but 5 just seems like a lot to me. So I just feel like one of these teams might lose steam towards the latter part of the season. So I'm going to sell, but I'm going to say maybe like 4. So it's a soft sell.
Yeah, okay, I like that soft sell. I mean, maybe you could just hold for right now.
Yeah, sure. I'll hold.
Based off of like what Missouri can be. But I like Texas. I like Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. Who am I forgetting? Texas, Ole Miss. Yeah, I could see that. Like, it's the same argument that I could make for Missouri getting in over a team like Notre Dame or even a team like Clemson or any team that comes out of the Big 12. Looks like the Big 12 kind of ate itself a little bit this past week. We'll see what Oklahoma State can do this week if they can bounce back and win. But it seems like the Big 12 just still needs to figure itself out. Maybe UCF is one of those teams that makes it out of the Big 12. They have a real shot when you really.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I agree. Especially what they did against TCU. I mean,
yeah. But are those teams that we've named getting in over an Ole Miss or Tennessee that maybe ended up
That's my thing. I mean, like, let's say Illinois goes undefeated. Is that better than a 1-loss Ole Miss team that loses to any of those other 4 teams that I mentioned? So.
Well, okay, but an undefeated Illinois or like a 1 or 2?
Let's say an undefeated Illinois.
Because they have to be undefeated.
No, I don't think they have to be undefeated to make the playoff. I think we're still. I'd have to take another look at their schedule. I think they still got like Oregon and Michigan on it as well after this Penn State game.
Then they're
that's tough.
Yeah. Well, they're in the Big Ten, so it is just, and they would have an amazing conference championship win. I think that they're, truthfully, if you're in the SEC and the Big Ten, I think you got 2 losses. Man. And I think that's pretty obvious, especially if one of those losses are in the conference championship game. When you're comparing the resumes of the teams that are trying to compete and get out of the ACC and Big 12 and make it into the college football playoff with an at-large bid, it gets to be like a really big jump. It feels like a parting of the sea almost in resumes. But we got to get to the next buy or sell topic, which kind of brings me into a little bit. We just brought up the Illinois undefeated season potentially. We'll see if they end up doing that. I got them beating Penn State this week. But Miami, team out of the ACC, buying or selling their undefeated season?
I'm low-key buying. I'm buying it. I think that they can do it.
Wait, Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm selling.
You're selling. I'm buying too.
Okay. Yeah. So this has nothing to do with, in my opinion, this has nothing to do with like Miami as a team. I think that they're a really, really good team. They got a really good quarterback back there. He's very nonchalant in the pocket. I mean,
a mobile Aaron Rodgers, according to Kathleen Moore. Yeah,
he's Well, that was her Heisman pick, and honestly, I respect it because I could definitely see it. I don't know if I see a regular season loss here. I'm taking a look at their schedule. They got VT, Cal, Louisville, which we'll know more about Louisville soon. FSU, which I don't really see that anymore. Potentially could have, but not anymore. They got Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. I think they could beat all those teams. Duke is 4-0 right now. I'd have to take a look at who they played, but I don't think that any of those games outside of Louisville is going to be scary for the Hurricanes. But I think they could potentially take the same route that TCU did a few years back, where they swept the Big 12, went undefeated, and then did lose in that conference championship game to Kansas State. I think that they could lose to Clemson. Now, Clemson is already they are already kind of in the back of people's minds a little bit, but I still think that they are probably the cream of the crop recruiting-wise and talent-wise. I know Miami's got a lot
transfer-wise.
Not transfer-wise. And that's exactly where they're unfortunately lacking. But okay, I'd say that all of this with a caveat. I think they will go undefeated in the regular season, but I do think that they will lose to Clemson in the ACC championship game.
I just don't see that happening. I think that if Miami and Clemson play in the conference championship, I really don't think it's close. Well, it's going to be tough. I don't know. I need to see a little more from Clemson, but right now I believe in Cam Ward. I mean, the only game left on the season, is Louisville. Let's be real. So I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, so I'm buying the fact that they're going to probably go and win out the regular season, like Patrick said, but going against Clemson in the ACC championship, they could drop that. But the biggest thing is Louisville, and I'm kind of on the fence of it. But Louisville's been playing really good. Their quarterback, I believe his name is Shock. He's kind of 8 touchdowns, around like 800 passing yards, like a 69 completion percentage rating, and hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. So when they go up against Miami, I could really see, I guess, an upset in that sense.
Okay, so Kathleen's pick was for Mr. Cam Ward to win the Heisman. Now, do we see any non-quarterbacks winning the Heisman this year? I'm going to sell, because if I think that Miami's going to go undefeated in the regular season, I mean, I think he's got a better shot than any other running back. I don't think that if a quarterback leads a team to an undefeated record, that in this day and age, there will be a running back, no matter what they do, that finishes ahead of them. I mean, I could see
the only other guy would be Travis Hunter.
Yeah, that'd be my only one.
Yeah, but I don't think Travis Hunter, even though he's playing every snap, is doing enough in terms of just the numbers, the pure numbers of it all. But I will say that my pick's Jackson Dart. If the team goes undefeated, it'd be Jackson Dart with Ole Miss. Even if Cam Ward goes undefeated, I think Jackson Dart going undefeated would be even greater.
Yeah. Look, as much I know I come every episode, I got to talk about RJ Harvey's Heisman race. So I would love to buy, but when you do look at it like that, and we can pretend like we live in a world where Miami's going to go undefeated in the regular season, I probably am going to have to agree there. But it's tough, I love RJ Harvey.
I mean, honestly, I respect the fact that you're so ride or die for RJ Harvey here.
He's my guy. And we will get him on nighttime.
Yep. I sure hope so. In some form or some sort of capacity, that I think we will be able to do that. Okay, let's take a look at the 2 teams in the national championship are seated in the top 4. So it's a very little tricky situation. Buy or sell that. 2 teams in the national championship game are seated in the top 4. I'm going to sell, because I think that they will be ranked in the top 4. So that means potentially the same conference, but not seated in the top 4. Ranking is different than seeding. That'll be something that we hear a lot come college football committee time, whenever they put out their rankings. Well, I believe week 8, week 9. We'll hear that. That'll be the big phrase of the year. But I'm going to sell that. I haven't bought a single thing. This feels so bad. But
hey, stock market's crashing. Just selling. Sell.
Yeah. Maybe you should buy during the crash, Matthew.
Maybe. But I don't know if I do. I mean, we're, looking at the rankings right now, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. I mean, I could kind of see Texas in it. If Quinn Ewers comes back and gets a little healthy. If not, maybe Georgia. Ohio State, I really haven't focused on them a lot this year, which is a little odd, but maybe I'll sell with you.
Yeah, I'm selling. I think this is going to be the SEC time to shine. I already said there's going to be like 5 teams in the bracket, so I think eventually it's going to be, like Patrick said, the top 4 ranked teams, which are going to be highly populated with SEC teams.
All right. Well, okay. So there was some big news coming out of college football. Was this 2 days ago now? I think it was the UNLV quarterback decided, hey, look, you guys were supposed to give me $100,000. You promised. It's been 3 games now. We're 3-0. We're one of the top teams in the group of 5. What the hell's going on? Why don't I have my bag yet? And they couldn't really give him an answer. So he decided, I'm going to keep my red shirt. I'm out, deuces. Their starting running back also left them. That came out yesterday. Buying or selling? NIL is going to affect more teams like it is affecting UNLV. I'm going to buy.
I'm buying too.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy too. It's only natural.
But I'm not gonna sell that it's immoral on the player's part. I do think that there is a little bit of like, okay, as a player, this does suck to see, right? You have to say bye to your teammates. You're taking a screenshot of the Notes app. Anytime you take a screenshot of your Notes app, it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing because it's always an apology or an I'm leaving or an explanation that you just wish you didn't have to give. Okay, so I think that this is going to affect more teams, but I don't think that this is immoral on the player's part. I think you do that handshake deal, you got to know when you got to pay, as far as it's concerned. But I will say though that this could be a cautionary tale, and that's my only thing that might keep me from completely buying this whole thing, that it's going to affect other teams, because I think other teams are going to be like, okay, well, like, we're going to promise these guys money, we're going to give it to them. So. But.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's only going to start showing up a little more and more and more. You look at situations like this, and it was a promise that the team made. You can't really say it was the player's fault. He was promised the money. I feel like it's a little more gray area. But I feel like cases like this and players choosing, hey, I'm just going to redshirt. You're not going to pay me. Why am I going to play for you? I feel like we're just going to start seeing that more and more and more. I mean, money is already affecting the league in such a big way, with all the Pac-12 and Mountain West drama that's been coming out this week. Headlines for that just coming up like crazy. So I'm going to buy. I'm going to say that NIL's, I'm surprised it honestly took this long for it to start being affecting teams like this.
Yeah, we already kind of saw it affect teams in like the moral standpoint, where the Colorado State quarterback and receiver, Matthew, I know you don't really like those guys too much, but they said that they turned down $1 million offers in order to play for Colorado State to win championships. So there are players who are taking the other route, in terms of morality, I guess.
Got to respect them a little bit for it, but bad move, man. Bad move.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And we'll see if the Pac-12 ends up stealing any more Mountain West schools. They did just add Utah State. I believe that was yesterday, confirmed. So they got 7 total teams, including the Washington State and Oregon State holdovers. Okay, so let's get into the game of the week. I can't believe we've went 38 minutes or so without talking about Georgia, Alabama. The true game of the week. Number 2, Georgia versus number 4, Alabama. My lean right now, at first, I should say, was Alabama. I was like, I think they're going to come into town. They're a little bit underrated. They're going to compete with a team like Georgia, who just barely beat Kentucky. But I'm going to switch. I'm going to go with Georgia, and here's why. Kirby Smart said something really insightful, in my opinion, after the game, and it made me do a little bit of research. He said, we have struggled against SEC teams in the first road game that we have played in the past 3 years. And it's true. They have struggled. They've had a game similar to the Kentucky game where they just didn't score on offense, win by field goals, essentially, for the entire game, that they just barely get by and they escape. It is that first game past all of their tune-ups or past their out-of-conference games that, could give them challenges. That first road test against an SEC opponent always gives this Georgia team trouble. I think that they're going to bounce back. They're going to be that team that we saw in the first week against Clemson, and they're going to play Alabama, and Kirby Smart is going to have a really, really good time not coaching against Nick Saban. He's 1-5 against Nick Saban in the Tide. I think he's going to make it 2-5 against the Alabama Crimson Tide this week. And I think the line is what, 1.5, 2.5?
Got to be something close.
Yeah,
it is going to be a close game for sure. I think I'm going to go with Alabama here. At home. Georgia is coming off that, pretty close game against Kentucky. I think, it could be a wake-up call here. But I don't know. I like Jalen Milroe this week. I really do, but it's going to be a close game for sure. It's going to be fun to watch. This is probably the best game of the week that we got all season long. And also, I just want to try to get a win over you and try to even it up for the season standings. So roll tide.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
Only time in my life I'm ever going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama roll tide. I think Alabama's going to take this. It'll be interesting though, because it's kind of, is Kirby Smart, did he have a problem with Nick Saban, or did he have a problem with Alabama? Probably Nick Saban. But this is the first time since Nick Saban's debut season 17 years ago that Alabama is coming in as the underdog, which I think is really interesting. But being that it's at home, a big game, and I think I have confidence in Alabama. I'm feeling it. I'm a big fan of Jalen Milroe too. I think he'll be able to do something special.
It's crazy how early in the season we're getting this. Normally, this is like SEC championship level or like late in the season rivalry, and this is just like week 5. But it's gonna be fun.
Usually this game has like insane stakes. This time it feels like it's just a great game, a great matchup. Kind of the new landscape of college football is that this game isn't the end of either of these teams' seasons, but I think it's kind of refreshing in a sense. But thank you, Justice, coming on air. First game of the week pick. Really great insight. This is the man behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Justice, for joining us. That's Matthew Bracker. I'm Patrick Previty. This has been Nighttime Hurricane Party online podcast, doing everything that we possibly can to get out content for you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next Thursday in the studio.